I don't know if you saw this. 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley told his new boss right off to his face. He also accused that guy's boss, CBS Editor-in-Chief Bari Weiss, of murdering the show that he's been a part of for over 2 decades, and the whole team basically cheered him on while he did it and literally applauded after he was done. Of course, this news doesn't exist in a bubble. This is just the latest blowback since Weiss took over last October. Though I will say it wasn't until more recently that she's turned her attention to 60 Minutes specifically. Right, last week, she fired 4 of the show's top producers, including executive producer Tanya Simon, along with 2 of the show's 7 correspondents, Cecilia, Vega, and Sharyn Alfonsi. Then you had the network announcing that it had hired Nick Bilton as the show's new executive producer. Right, and Bilton, he's a tech journalist, he's a filmmaker, he also has never worked in traditional broadcast news, though arguably I think we are seeing more and more of that. Right, because Weiss, for example, she also had no prior experience in broadcast journalism when she was named the network's editor-in-chief, which may also be connected to the fact that she was appointed to the position by a Trump ally and tech billionaire David Ellison, right after his effective takeover of CBS's parent company Paramount in a multi-billion-dollar merger. Also, as far as Weiss, along with the firings last week, she reportedly issued a memo telling staff that it was time for a new approach at 60 Minutes, describing the goal as building a show that thrives in the 21st century. But also yesterday, you had Bilton reportedly opening a staff meeting, introducing himself to the team by trying to reassure them that he wouldn't just be taking a wrecking ball to the show, saying the rumors people are spreading that I'm going to turn the show into 61-minute episodes, that it's going to be like TikTok, that is not changing. The show is going to stay exactly like it is for now. Of course, the key word is for now, especially because he was clear that change would be coming, saying that broadcast is an ice cube that's melting, and reportedly arguing that the show must adapt before claiming that Weiss loves this institution and loves 60 Minutes. And it's reportedly at this point that Pelley interrupted and told Bilton she is murdering 60 Minutes. She does not love this place. She was brought in to kill it, and she's been doing exactly that. And then adding, she has no qualifications for her job. You have slender qualifications for this job. The changes that she's made at the evening news have been catastrophic, so why should we expect that any of this is going to be any better? Now, Bilton apparently kept his cool, saying that he looked forward to sharing his plans and meeting with everyone, but Pelley stayed on the offensive. Right, grilling Bilton about last week's firings, with Bilton claiming that the decision to let Alfonsi and Vega go, that happened before he arrived. Pelley also questioned why Bilton even accepted the job, knowing that he will never be welcome, with Bilton then clapping back, I have no problem taking a job in a place that I am not welcome in. Reportedly saying, I've been a journalist for 25 years, Scott. I've sat across from incredibly powerful people like you have, and none of it intimidates me, okay? So you are not going to intimidate me in front of this group of people. I want that to be clear. But also with that, while Pelley appeared to lead the charge, he was apparently far from the only person in that group of people who had a problem with Bilton. One employee, for example, reportedly asked Bilton how he planned to train a new correspondent, which is a process that can take years. But there, he responded by saying that he'd bring in people who already know how to do the work, which reportedly led to the staff laughing out loud in his face. Bilton also reportedly claimed that he cared deeply about the institution, which Pelley reportedly interrupted with an "oh, please," that again eliciting a wave of laughter from the room. And ultimately, the meet and greet reportedly ended abruptly with Bilton saying, enjoy the bagels, and then leaving in silence, at which point the staff erupted in applause. You know, given everything that's happened over the past few months, none of this really sounds surprising. The pressure's actually been steadily building since even before Weiss took over. In April of last year, for example, while Paramount, they were still working to get that merger across the finish line, the show's longtime executive producer, Bill Owens, resigned over what he described as a loss of freedom to make independent decisions. And you actually had Pelley applauding the decision live on air, saying no one here is happy about it. But in resigning, Bill proved one thing. He was the right person to lead 60 Minutes all along. Also, last December, you had Alfonsi, right, one of the correspondents fired last week, clashing with Weiss back after she pulled a segment on the brutal treatment of migrants deported from the U.S. to El Salvador. You had Alfonsi telling her team in an email at the time that the decision had been political, and proving her point in some people's eyes. The segment ultimately only ran with additional statements from the White House and the Department of Homeland Security that were not in the original version. You had her saying in a statement released after getting fired, the wall between editorial independence and corporate interests at CBS is being methodically torn down. Journalists willing to challenge authority are being pushed aside in favor of those who will not. And in her own statement, you had Vega, the other fired correspondent, sounding off on a similar note, saying that her team had fended off efforts to insert political bias into their stories, and added, let's call this what it is, censorship, both imposed and self-driven, saying it is dangerous for the show and dangerous for democracy. Also, we've seen things like recently you had an 18-year-old high schooler receiving a $10,000 grant from CBS at the News and Documentary Emmy Awards presented to him by none other than Scott Pelley, and he took that chance to absolutely slam the network as well.
While I want to thank CBS News for funding this generous gift towards my education, I want to also acknowledge how the recent direction of the outlet stains the legacy of Mike Wallace, the namesake of this scholarship. As corporate elites take hold over the very pipes through which our information flows, journalism that serves the people becomes increasingly harder to come by, yet ever more crucial. And what the people want is the truth. So if at any time you hesitate to utter the word genocide or remain silent in the face of blatant lies, remember to ask yourself, who is this for? I hope you choose us.
Right, you had Pelley looking emotional, praising the young man for his words.
I know that Mike Wallace is looking down at you with pride at this very moment.
Also, while we're speaking of award shows, you actually had Pelley getting praise from his old boss, Bill Owens, who gave a speech accepting an award at the New York Press Club Awards, saying CBS had put an opinion writer best known for being an ideologue in charge, and adding,
Scott can smell a fraud from a mile away. He stood up the way that I did a year ago, and I couldn't be prouder of him. And I know all of the people at 60 Minutes couldn't be proud of him. So in a way, I'll accept this award today on behalf of my friend Scott and all the people at 60 Minutes.
Now, of course, overall, not everyone is applauding Pelley. You have some out there accusing him of being unprofessional or otherwise attacking him for being a journalist. But really, whatever you feel about his behavior, what's happening at CBS, it ends up being just a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. You've got Musk with X, Bezos with the Washington Post, you got the Murdochs with Fox, and you have Ellison with Paramount Skydance, which also now, by the way, is trying to finalize a merger with Warner Bros., the owner of CNN. So many of the ways that people get information, they are controlled by people with a lot of money and an agenda. And that especially matters when you have an administrative power with such a distaste for the truth.